Trade Tech College.
Student Gallo Vasquez has dreams of one day becoming a civil engineer for the city of L.A. He knows good-paying jobs are out there, citing the city's plan to earthquake retrofit thousands of buildings.
LA is a really old city, so sooner or later we're going to have to remodel everything. Like, we're prone to earthquakes and all that.
He and other students from Orthopedic Medical Magnet High School are among the 2,000 job seekers making the rounds at LA Construction and Associated Careers Day. The event, hosted by LA Trade Tech College, which has close ties to the building trades and the jobs they offer. And that includes paid student internships on the way to graduation.
So where the student can be working, making money, and getting credit. So even sometimes if it doesn't take you 2 years, it might take you 2.5 years or 3 years, at least you're working on something you love.
With a shot at being hired full-time later. One student employer is LAX.
And the salary's not bad. Yeah, they'll start out, again, as internships, but it could be anywhere between $15 and $20 an hour.
For an internship?
For an internship.
And then from there, they can move on up?
Oh, absolutely.
And how high up can they go?
Oh, endless. I mean, we've seen students start out as interns and then eventually become managers and then, running their own companies.
Also hiring is construction company Swinnerton Builders.
We're looking to recruit from college-educated students, also craft. So we hire, since we're general contractor, we hire all trades.
And do you hire right on the spot here?
We haven't yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did.
Tech students go booth to booth, weighing their options, like possible careers in solar technology and alternative fuels.
It's really nice to see what my opportunities are.
Yeah, I'm going to just keep on going around and then think of which one's the best route.
So for these particular job seekers, this is the place to be in the city of Los Angeles. Consider that throughout its 92-year history, LA Trade Tech College has offered more career technical programs than any other community college west of the Mississippi. In South Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
LA Trade Tech also offers courses in carpentry, welding, culinary arts, and fashion design. And if those careers don't interest you, how about becoming a firefighter? If you're a young woman, you may just have the spark it takes to become an LA City firefighter. A group of young ladies certainly think so, as they put their bodies to the test at a recent training camp for females ages 14 to 18. Gil Reyes shows us.
Not just pretty in pink, they're out to prove they're just as good, if not better, than the guys.
Women do have the ability to become a firefighter, and it does take a lot of strength and courage to become a firefighter.
The LA City Fire Department hosts a 2-day girls' training camp in Panorama City. An introduction to firefighting, it's also a way to encourage more young women to join the department, which at last count was just 3% female.
LAFD wants more women because we know the positive impacts that women bring to any organization. So by increasing the women within the LAFD, we know that we can provide better service to the community just by bringing more diversity.
You guys gotta smile.
But can these young women handle the physical demand?
You got it.
For starters, they'll have to strap on 70 pounds of gear for a typical firefight. Councilmember Nuri Martinez, a huge supporter of more opportunities for women, grew up in this section of the San Fernando Valley.
When I was growing up, I don't remember ever seeing a woman firefighter until I was an adult. So it's really important to ensure that our young girls in our city can meet other firefighter women, be involved in fire camp, hopefully get involved with our fire cadet program and our fire academy magnet schools.
Firefighter magnet programs are happening at Wilson High School in El Sereno and Banning High School in San Pedro. There are also youth fire academies at several fire stations. And of course, there's this once-a-year girls' camp.
So that the parents pay attention to when these camps and opportunities come up and have your young daughters come out and participate.
In Panorama City, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Councilmember Martinez wants to expand Girls Camp to twice a year. She's encouraging more local businesses to come forward to help fund the program. Well, it was a day of giving as the community passed out much-needed items to people who are homeless. But this charity event also highlighted the importance of giving back. Rasha Goel has more.
Haircuts, shoes, and clothes were just some of the goodies attendees received at this annual charity event put on by the Union Rescue Mission.
We have lots of people experiencing homelessness down here on Skid Row, and it's important that they receive the necessary supplies they need, like hygiene kits, food, but most importantly, to build relationships.
A school group also participated with students passing out duffel bags, giving the children an opportunity to learn about the importance of giving back.
It's very helpful. It's a great blessing.
You wouldn't recognize all the people that need help like this. It's incredible.
For some, these small gifts are a gesture of kindness that go a long way.
There's so many people here that do have needs, and it's wonderful when you see humanity help humanity. And in such a marvelous way. You're giving them duffel bags that have style.
This isn't something that the Union Rescue Mission does alone. We have a lot of partners, volunteers, and organizations that donate supplies, money, time to help put this event together.
For many here, it's an opportunity to regain their self-value, spirit, and dignity. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Well, he's the first African-American baseball player to truly impact the game. The Dodgers organization immortalizes the late, great Jackie Robinson with a magnificent sculpture. Gil Reyes shows us.
1, 2, 3.
The blue curtain drops at Dodger Stadium to reveal a majestic statue of Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson, the man who broke Major League Baseball's color barrier. Dodgers co-owner Magic Johnson says he's elated.
This is one of the greatest days of my life, to be associated with the Dodgers and to honor an American hero, a guy who deserves to have a statue. And it's also great for our fans.
Exchanging a hug during the ceremony were Robinson's widow, Rachel Robinson, and retired Dodgers announcer Vin Scully. Jackie Robinson played second base for the Brooklyn Dodgers from 1947 to 1956. He was Rookie of the Year, a six-time All-Star, and became MLB's first African-American Most Valuable Player. He also played in 6 World Series, most notably stealing home in the Dodgers' 1955 championship win over the New York Yankees. And he did it all with class, despite heightened prejudice in Major League Baseball at the time. Though Robinson retired before the Dodgers moved to L.A., the statue by artist Brantley Cadet will stand at Chavez Ravine, a lasting tribute to number 42's athleticism, and more importantly, his strength of character. At Dodger Stadium, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
His legacy also continues with the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Over the past 40 years, it's provided financial aid and mentorship to 1,500 students. While city officials take steps to expand homeless shelters, the city hosts an Earth Day celebration and helping building owners retrofit their properties. All this in City Beat. To help people who are living on the street find shelter and assistance, the LA City Council approved a shelter crisis declaration authored by Councilmember Jose Huizar and Councilmember Mike Bonin. This will allow the city to open more shelter facilities to help get an estimated 28,000 people who are homeless off the street. This vote is a key step in a series of responses to the homelessness crisis. A planning committee recently recommended removing self-imposed city instructions, including ordinance language that previously only allowed a shelter crisis to be declared during winter months and limited them to 120 days a year, among other restrictions. Councilmember Jose Huizar said the vote gives the city the ability to act on that crisis in the short term while giving hope, help, and service to people who desperately need it. Mother Earth was the star of the show during LA Sanitation's second annual citywide Earth Day LA Festival, held at Exposition Park. More than 50 exhibits dedicated to promoting sustainability were on display, including family-friendly activities. Kids got to explore city vehicles, learn about seed planting, and lots of mulch was given away. There was also plenty of entertainment on the stage, including performances from Tommy the Clown and other musical acts. Some families even picked up some plants and trees.
It's a day to celebrate the earth and the environment, really educate people and promote the goals of sustainability and healthy living.
The second annual Seismic Retrofit Resource Fair, sponsored by the Mayor's Office, was held recently at the LA Convention Center. The fair provided information, materials, and resources for owners of soft-story and concrete buildings who must comply with the recent mandatory retrofit ordinance for these types of buildings.
Retrofit is very important because it will strengthen buildings and could keep them from collapsing. That will prevent injuries and also will make it a lot quicker for people to get back inside their buildings if an earthquake happens.
Well, each month, the historic core of downtown LA gets transformed into a cutting-edge block party with plenty of the latest art for all tastes. Anna Marcos takes a look at a special downtown art walk, which honors World Art Day this month.
There were some mighty big bunnies hopping about, but then anything artsy goes at LA's Downtown Art Walk. This month also focuses on World Art Day, which is observed throughout the world.
I think the Downtown Art Walk is really a connector. It's a way for people to interact with art in a very personal way. I think a lot of people are thrown off a little bit by the really sort of clinical white box gallery. A lot of the gallery owners are very open to talking to people about the art, the artists, the exhibitions.
About 40 galleries take part in the monthly art walk, which draws about 3,500 people in just a few hours. The event has become so popular, many fans are clamoring for performance art as well. And organizers and artists are giving it to them, as in this mandala project in which regular old people help create art.
Tonight, we're actually creating a circle with people, a human mandala, where everybody's laying on the floor in a circle, connected and together in unity for a few minutes.
And the regular old people love it too.
You got to get involved in the art in Los Angeles, you know what I mean? It's all a part of the culture, and I really love it.
Just having fun, taking in the experience, doing something different with my homies.
So this is art for homies, bunnies, and regular old people like you and me. And if you missed these masterpieces, no worries. It all happens again on the second Thursday of every month. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
DJs, specialty cocktails, and great food were also part of the fun. Well, enjoy cupcakes and other sweets while helping out a good cause. Check out the work of local artists during an art show and help spruce up a middle school in Tarzana. All this in this week's Things to Do. The Sugar and Stilettos Charitable Foundation raises awareness and funds for the Westside Food Bank to help end the issue of hunger and food insecurity in LA. Through an annual bake sale, which brings together the best bakeries, restaurants, and shopping in town, Sugar and Stilettos has raised over $200,000 since its first event in 2011. The highlight each year is the crowning of Mr. Sugar and Stilettos, where a well-known personality dons a pair of stilettos, a tiara, and a sash for a good cause. The family-friendly event is full of fun, laughs, and plenty of sweet treats. It all takes place May 13th from 1 to 4 p.m. at 2306 Midvale Avenue in West LA. The Rotary Art Show features local and regional artists exhibiting and selling their original artwork twice a year. Since 1969, the Rotary Club of Studio City, Sherman Oaks, has hosted this biannual art show in May over Mother's Day weekend and the second weekend in October. This show has been held for over 40 years and has been a successful event for artists and art lovers alike. Between 90 and 120 hand-selected artists successfully exhibit their artwork during this two-day event. An estimated 3,000 visitors attend the show each day. Every year, numerous charity organizations benefit from the funds raised by the volunteers of the Rotary Club. The ultimate beneficiaries of these events are people in need. The art show takes place May 13th and 14th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Moorpark Park in Studio City. For more, visit RotaryArtShow.org. Join friends of the Sherman Oaks Center for Enriched Studies for a fun, campus-wide Beautification Day. Volunteers are needed to help revamp their existing garden and create an outdoor classroom for educational use by the elementary 6th and 7th grade science classes and culinary classes. They will also be cleaning and painting to add lots of color on campus. The Beautification event takes place on May 13th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Sherman Oaks Center for Enriched Studies located at 18605 Irwin Street in Tarzana. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and you can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
During California's next major earthquake, an epic battle will take place. Don't fight a brick. The brick will win. DareToPrepare.org.
911 emergency, operator 271.
The city of Los Angeles receives over 2 million 911 calls every year. Hello, I'm Mayor Eric Garcetti.
I'm Chief Charlie Beck. A significant number of 911 calls are not emergencies.
911 should be used for emergency calls, such as preservation of life, a crime in progress, prevention of a crime, or a public hazard.
If your call is not an emergency, such as a loud party, verbal dispute, public nuisance, or lost or missing property, you can dial 1-877-ASK-LAPD to have the police respond.
Remember, call 1-877-ASK-LAPD for non-emergency calls.
Los Angeles Police Department, what are you reporting?
Need a recycling center? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall. Illegally parked cars? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hi, I'm Mike from Los Angeles. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
12. Your city council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 11 members and a quorum, Madam President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Councilmember David Rue moves and Councilmember O'Farrell seconds.
Next is commendatory resolutions for approval.
Councilmember Koretz moves and Mr. Krikorian seconds. What's next?
Madam President, item number 1 is an item for which public hearing has been held. The committee report for this item has been submitted, posted, and circulated for council's consideration.
Members, can I direct it to the agenda? Are there any specials? Okay, see. We're going to go ahead and open the roll. Public comment has been satisfied. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, what's next?
Next is items 2 through 4 are items for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are before us. Before we get to that, Mr. Blumenfield, did you have something?
Can we ask her? I'm told it needs to be urgent forthwith.
Urgent forthwith on item 1 from Mr. Blumenfield.
Madam President, that requires a vote.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, what's before us now?
Items 2 through 4 are items for which public hearing has not been held. There are cards on 2, 3, and 4, Madam President.
We have cards on items 2, 3, and 4. Members, any specials? Seeing none.
Madam President, would you like to hear the cards now?
We're going to see if Mr. Cedillo is ready for his presentation. Mr. Cedillo?
Put that up there.
A long time ago.
Sorry from that. We're going to have a video.
You're waiting for the video?
Correct.
Okay. So, can we start the video, please?
Council District 1 is one of the 15 districts of the Los Angeles City Council, representing sections of Northeast Los Angeles and Downtown City West. Between 1923 and 1987, District 1 represented all, then parts, of the San Fernando Valley. It was redistricted in 1987 to cover an area northwest and north of downtown Los Angeles to provide another majority Hispanic council district in the city. The creation of the first council district was the result of a landmark court case fought by MALDEF, the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund, mandating that a Latino district be created because of the gerrymandering that took place for decades. The only Latino on the council at the time, Richard Alatorre, fought vigorously to have more representation for the growing Latino population in Los Angeles. The first council district was created in 1987 and was represented not by a Latino, but by a Latina by the name of Gloria Molina, who was then elected to the Board of Supervisors in 1991. Council District 1 was then represented by Mike Hernandez, Ed Reyes, and is currently represented by Gil Cedillo. 2017 marks the 30th anniversary of Council District 1. With such rich history rooted in civil rights, we wish the first Council District a happy 30th anniversary.
Very well.
These are no doubt historic times and quite tumultuous for our nation as we go forward in this Trump era with incredible trepidation. We are here today to mark a significant point in our history where we move beyond the division and the divisiveness that is so much a part of the Trump administration and made progress through the legal channels, through the incredible work of MALDEF and the NAACP, to bring a greater sense of democracy to this city. I stand here with giants of our political process, Richard Alatorre, Mike Hernandez, Ed Reyes, and with MALDEF standing at our side, and with, of course, Rosalio Munoz, a historic figure in his own right, is here with us this morning. It is a celebration of the First District, a celebration that's marked by incredible historic victories both for justice and for equity in the underrepresented communities of Los Angeles. Let me read, if I may, by quote from an August 24th, 1986 article by the New York Times, which I think captures the sentiment of the changes. I want you to imagine 1986, how different the council looked, how it was not anything like you see today. Today you see a council that's diverse, it's reflective of the city. We could obviously do much more in terms of gender, but we have made great strides from the council of 1986. And so as the New York Times stated, let me read this in quote, "Layer by layer, the racial and ethnic structure of the nation's second largest city is being transformed by the rising immigration from Asia and Latin America. And with the non-Hispanic whites now less than 50% of the population and blacks less than 20%, the newcomers are asserting themselves in Los Angeles politics. A recent fight that focused attention on the fast-growing Hispanic and Asian communities concerned the redrawing of district lines for city council elections. The contest was touched off by a Justice Department lawsuit asserting that under the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the districts must be redrawn and to improve Latinos' chances of electing a second councilman. The only Hispanic representative now on the council in the weeks since 1962, Richard Alatorre, was elected last fall. A few weeks earlier, the city's first Asian American councilman, Michael Wu, was elected. They joined 3 black representatives and 10 non-Hispanic whites on the council. In reviewing the council redistricting plan, however, Judge Eidman raised the issue of whether the large number of non-citizens, primarily Hispanic, ought to be counted for the purposes of reapportionment. Historically, apportionment has been based on voting population, on total population, but Judge Eidman questioned whether the Voting Rights Act applied to aliens, legal and illegal, an issue that the Justice Court says has never been tested in court. Judge Eidman asked the parties, including MALDEF and the NAACP, to submit briefs on the issue. So during this time period, what is now the First District, now populated by significant groups of Latino, Central American, Mexican immigrants, Asian American immigrants, that district was created in part out of these efforts. It's needless to say that justice did prevail and all the residents of Los Angeles were counted, taken into consideration for reapportionment, regardless of their immigration status, and today it is what we call the First District. Between 1923 and 87, District 1 had represented all or parts of San Fernando Valley. It was redistricted, as we know now, for the northeast part of the city, and for the areas west of downtown. The first person who was elected, she would be here, but for international travels, was Gloria Molina, who would also go on to become the first county supervisor. She was followed by Mike Hernandez, Ed Reyes, and today I have the honor and privilege of representing this great district. It's important to celebrate our roots of our district, for it continues to be one of the most diverse districts of the city. To speak about the role of MALDEF played in the creation of our district is Stephen Ochoa, MALDEF's National Redistricting Coordinator, formerly with the Southwest Voter Registration and Education Project. Stephen. Brilliant young man.
Thank you, sir.
You've done great work.
Thank you, sir.
Proud of you.
Thank you, Councilman Cedillo. Thank you, members of the LA City Council. On behalf of MALDEF and President Tom Saenz, I want to acknowledge you. I want to thank you for acknowledging the historic creation of a Latino majority district within LA City on the east side. LA's District 1's creation, in many ways, was the culmination of the Latino community's process of earning its democratic voice in Southern California. Latinos had been steadily growing in population size and concentration, yet were often discriminated against and regularly denied opportunities to elect candidates of choice on many levels of government. In the 80s, LA City continued that willful dilution of the Latino vote. However, with Latinos added as a protected class to the Federal Voting Rights Act in 1975, MALDEF was able to sue the city for this discriminatory act. That suit culminated with the creation of District 1, clearing the way for the Latino community to elect a candidate of choice ever since, starting with Gloria Molina. Latinos on the east side finally had a voice in the second largest city in the nation. District 1 was a shining example of the Voting Rights Act as an important tool in helping the Latino community. It is the law that allowed the Southern California Latino community a chance to fight for an earned voice after decades of population growth. The significance of District 1 is proof of the power of the Voting Rights Act. I thank the Council for remembering this accomplishment, because those that are ignorant of history are doomed to repeat it. I think Andrew Jackson said that. There are parallels going on now that remind me of the fight for District 1. Only 5 years ago, not 35 years ago, did LA County vote to deny the Latinos another chance after decades of concentrated population growth. In the last few years, we've had toxic rhetoric against Latinos echoing the sentiments that led to Operation Wetback, sentiments that led to the protections for Latinos to be added to the VRA. Remembering the fight for District 1 is a step towards staying vigilant against VRA erosions. As the law firm of the Latino community, MALDEF will continue to do all it can to fight for those protections. Thank you for recognizing District 1's significance.
Thank you. Here to speak on his tenure on the City Council, he was the only Latino at the time, but had come to Los Angeles from the legislature with a rich history in redistricting, had worked on the 1980 redistricting, and was here on the council at the time that this came forward, the Honorable Richard Alatorre.
Thank you. Madam President and members, the time when I got elected to the City Council was a very exciting time. And one of the first responsibilities I had, or was given to me by the president of the City Council, Pat Russell, when the lawsuit that was filed against the city was adjudicated, and the city of Los Angeles decided that they were going to go and move forward with a new redistricting for the 15 members of the City Council. And that took place, and it was a very contentious time, because it happened to have had an impact on an existing member of the City Council. And then an unfortunate tragedy took place that resolved everything, and that was with the untimely death of my colleague in the City Council, a man that just a beautiful, beautiful man that represented the San Fernando Valley by the name of Howard Finn. We went through that. It was a very tumultuous time. There was a lot of suspected people that were involved in it, and they just felt that it was going to be a result of one fighting another. Well, it turned out the opposite. The untimely death took care of one of the problems, but it was the beginning to resolving things that took place in the years to come. And I had the great pleasure of doing the redistricting, electing first woman Latina to the city council, and then very soon thereafter electing Mike Hernandez to the first district, and then Ed Reyes, and of course you have the very distinguished former member of the state legislature, and then a person that got elected to the city council by the name of Neil Cedillo. And all I can say is this body is a reflection of the work that we did. I think it's a great tribute to the city of Los Angeles, and I was proud to just play a small role in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, the councilman that led the district through incredible, tumultuous times for the city from 1991 to 2001, the Honorable Mike Hernandez.
Thank you, Councilman. You know, I've been thinking about what it was like back then. And I need you to understand that the city had gone 25 years without a Spanish surnamed representative on the city council, even though this city's name was Los Angeles in a state called California. We were the majority of the population in the city and did not have representation at the very basic level of government for 25 years. And so you have to understand what the atmosphere was like when the courts basically required the city to create an opportunity for someone of Spanish surname to be elected. And Molina got elected to play that role, and then the courts forced the county to do the same thing. And she got elected to the county, and I had the opportunity to run for city council. 1984, we registered 44,000 people to vote in the east side of Los Angeles. In 1988, we registered another 25,000 people to vote in the northeast area of Los Angeles. But the first councilmatic district only had 33,000 registered voters when the district was created. Do the numbers. I got elected with basically 8,000 votes. Now, what happens when you get elected and basically there's been no representation except for one member? We became buddies. And we used to tell everybody in the city that on the east side they had 2 votes, not 1. But we were representing more than the east side. We were representing the Spanish language population in the entire city. And I need you to understand what it was like talking to Zeb, Marvin, Bernardi, talking to all of them about our community that had not had representation. And I want you to understand what happened when I get elected. Keith Comrie, the CAO, comes to me with a capital projects book in Council District 1. And he had about at least a 3-inch binder of projects. And I'm looking at the projects, and I'm looking at each one. And I'm saying, none of these projects are in my district. And Keith Comrie said, what do you mean? It's the first district. No, that was the old first district. So he came back a week later with a new book, except this book was less than an inch thick. There was very few capital projects going on the...
Mr. Hernandez, there seems to be an alarm going off. Hold on for just a second, make sure. Sergeants?
Foiled again.
Mr. Cedillo? We're going to wait for the announcement to come on to figure out what this alarm is about, okay? Hold on for just a second.
It's good therapy, Mike.
Well, wait till I didn't want to say that the first district was actually my family home. My aunt went to elementary school.
Did you want to share a little bit about
No. Councilman Reyes. My aunt went to elementary school in Sacred Heart. Yeah. I remember my aunt's like, I think, yeah, some guy went to some city council. Ed Reyes? Oh, yeah, Eddie. My aunt was Yolanda Rodriguez.
When did she graduate?
She went to both. I mean, high school is all girls. I assume you didn't go there. Grandma still has her. She doesn't live there at the moment. She still has her property on Kingdom.
Thank you for your patience. We're trying to figure out what the alarm is about. Our sergeants are calling the police department. Just hold on for just a second.
Oh, yeah. He's still got some juice around here.
But you were around, huh?
Yeah.
I wasn't dishing him because then he became my buddy. Kind of like he saw what was going on.
Exactly.
Where's Zeb? Zeb's got his hands on this.
Members of the audience, there seems to be a small incident on the second floor. We're still trying to get clearance from our police department, so we're waiting to hear an announcement whether we need to evacuate. So I ask for your patience. Thank you. We will evacuate until further notice. Please exit to the back. This meeting is recessed until the fire department clears us to come back into the building. Please exit to the back. Thank you. Members, we will now resume our city council meeting. Mr. Cedillo, I'm very sorry about that. I know you were in the middle of your presentation. I believe Mr. Hernandez was speaking.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask Mr. Hernandez to return to this important presentation. And I thank you for your accommodation.
It's not the first time someone figured out how to interrupt my speech. And members, where I left off, we were talking about the capital projects book that was presented to me when I was a first councilmanic district, and very little projects were happening in my district. What it did, it made the CAO aware of the neglect that had been going on. And because basically there was 10 years of very little representation because of the redistricting lawsuits that were going on. Now I'm sharing that because I came into the council confused and full of rage. The rage was about the lack of representation in the city. The fact that we had people throughout the city who did not feel they had a voice. And that's what happened with redistricting. And we gave the Latino community a voice, and we started fighting on behalf of that community. Now, 1992, we have the civil unrest. And everybody was asking how come the first councilmanic district kind of understood that we had to hit the streets cleaning them up. And we got people involved, and we were getting people involved throughout the process. Fast forward today. The first councilmanic district has some of the most desirable communities in the city of Los Angeles. And it's because we've been fighting for infrastructure work. You see, when Assemblyman Cedillo, Senator Cedillo, was up and working in Sacramento, he was making sure with then Antonio Villaraigosa and Richard Polanco and Jackie Goldberg that we were getting the funding to buy Taylor Yard, to do the cornfields. Why? Because the first district was the poorest district in the entire city. That's why I introduced Prop K to make a difference in our parks. First councilmanic district had the highest crime rate in the entire city. Nobody would go into Pico Union, Westlake, because it was a community that everybody called the quiet ones. Even though Zev had represented a part of it, Tom Bradley had represented a part of it, but because it was an immigrant community, they referred to it as the quiet ones. So we've been struggling just to provide a voice, not only to the immigrant community in the first councilmanic district, but the immigrant community throughout the city. We've been fighting to make sure this city basically is representative of its citizens. And what is a citizen of a city? In the first councilmanic district, the reality is the majority of our population was under the age of 18. A good percentage of our population did not have the right to vote. Even though they had a history, 20, 30 years of living in the district, they still could not vote. My mother-in-law could not vote for me, even though she was a legal resident. So I just wanted to share that with you because today what I see is a council that's much more reflective of the city of Los Angeles, that's fighting for all its citizens and making a difference. And Councilman Cedillo has a legacy in terms of a district that wasn't represented that he has to fight for. It is a better district today, and I'm proud of that. I think Ed Reyes will say he's proud of that, and we all thank Councilman Alatorre for the work he had to do in that direction. But again, members, what you're doing today is basically reflecting what the city is about, and we're going to lead the rest of this country when it comes to race relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me introduce a dear friend of mine, someone I met as a young activist at UCLA many, many years ago, and was happy to run into him back here in the city of Los Angeles. My immediate predecessor, my former, or my friend, and someone who I look to for helping us lead this district forward, the Honorable Ed Reyes. You had long hair.
That's right. Yeah, I had long hair. Not only hair, but long hair. But Council President, colleagues, and I still say colleagues, thank you for this moment. I want to thank Councilor Cedillo for allowing us to speak on this matter. I want to thank Councilman Mike Hernandez, Councilman Rich Alatorre, for all of their hard work. For 10 years, I was Councilman Mike Hernandez's planner and chief planner. And I got to be that person that sat in the corner of the ring while the gladiators were in that battle within the ring. From that position, I got to see how hard it was to create change. The fact that the institutions historically had neglected sections of this city, where there are studies that discuss this tale of two cities. But I want to share with you a positive note. I want to share with you that because of this knowledge, because of these struggles, we were able to embrace those communities that did not have a voice. We created a seat at the negotiating table. When the parks were being designated for acquisition, there was a strong movement to build warehouses. One of my first acts as a council member is to make sure that we did realize the parks the community wanted. When we built the rail lines, we made sure the engineers didn't build 12, 15 feet walls, but actually improve the urban scape so we could stimulate affordable housing, mixed uses, transit-oriented districts. Council members, you are at a place where we need to address the homelessness. It doesn't matter what color or name you have. What matters is that we do not forget why we're here. It's not about Ed Reyes. It's not about Mike Hernandez. It's not about Auditory, Gloria. It's not about any one of us. It's about the people we serve. We are their public servants. So here you have the ability to address mixed income environments. You have the ability to revisit the discussion, and it will be painful, of inclusionary zoning. You have the ability to ask those who do not want change, where will we house the people that are laying in the streets? This is not the city we fought for. The city we fought for was about using our planning police powers, using our ability to understand our communities as diverse as they are, and with yourselves immersed in this challenge, actually produce the environments that will make our city worthy of investment, feasible, but more important, caring. More importantly, providing housing for the folks that actually need it. So I am very proud to be part of this movement, part of this tradition. But more importantly, let's understand that this city, the second largest city in this country, the largest city with the greatest number of immigrants from every part of this world, has a true calling. And that is to create the policies that speaks to relief, that speaks to humanity, and understands its marketing power to bring in investment. The Alley River Corridor is not only about natural habitats, it's about creating a whole new riverfront district. It's about containing our water, about promoting stormwater harvesting technology, about being our ability to speak to our grandchildren and say, yes, when I was in the council, we created policy that helped us preserve our water and clean it. Understanding we need mixed income housing up and around all these areas. I would challenge you to ask each one of your planners to go in your districts and ask your communities, where do they see housing? Where do they see affordable housing? Let them define themselves. And you be that steward that creates the specific plans, the community plans, all that is needed to create that space, to build what's necessary for a healthy city. So I thank you for this moment. I thank Councilor Cedillo for all that he's done. But I thank you for stepping up and meeting these challenges and understanding your power as council members. Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to introduce a longtime activist, somewhat of a historian, but a participant, not just a historian, but a participant of our community, someone who has been a champion of the rights of Latinos in this city for decades, Rosalio Munoz.
Thank you. Thank you, Gil. Madam Chairman, council members, and people here. I wanted to bring a little bit more of the story here. It is about people running for office, getting elected. It is about civil rights protections of the vote, but it's also about the grassroots empowerment efforts of the people. I met all these guys decades ago when they were grassroots, young and energetic, and still pretty energetic. But we had tremendous problems with representation. Ed Reyes was the first in this century to get elected to the city council. There were people behind him like Ed Quevedo and Bert Corona, who later were with MAPA, or Francisca Flores, pushing women's rights and civil rights back in the 30s, back in the 40s. And Roy Ball was a tremendous fighter, but they took away his district. They moved it from downtown to the other side of the Los Angeles River with Dodger Stadium, Bunker Hill, urban renewal projects, freeway after freeway cutting up. It was a dispersal. Keep the Mexicans out of power, mass deportations. And he finally had to run for Congress, which was a big enough area to cover the constituency he had served so well. I got involved in the reapportionment issue in 1972, opposed with the Maldiv suit being one of the plaintiffs with the Edelman plan. Actually, I ran against Edelman a couple times later for supervisor, but that's not really the point. But we lost that suit. We had recall efforts. David Lopez Lee led one in the 70s. Others led one in the 80s to get representation. In 1979, Mr. Nava was appointed the ambassador to Mexico. So of the 40 major local elected officials with the city, with the county, with the school board and the junior college board, well, now they call it community college board, 40 seats, 2 million Latinos, mostly Mexicans at that time, and not one in those 40 seats. And people dedicated themselves to start taking care of that. We got 2 Congress people in, Ed Torres and Marty Martinez, with reapportionment. We pushed real hard and got Larry Gonzalez appointed finally, making at least one of the 40 seats elected there. There were efforts to recall the representative in the 14th of that time. And so there were tremendous grassroots efforts. And it turned out when we finally could get some of the independent labor unions like the UAW, like the electrical workers, like that's UE, the electrical workers, steel workers, and some of the strong unions that were fighting moving the factories out, stood up and broke with the tradition of voting with the guy that scratched your back and endorsed the Chicano. We came 4 votes short of a runoff election, and then the die was cast. Richard stepped in at the right time. Maldiv came in also, but there had been tremendous demand in the city council. And then with getting the representation, it's beautiful to see the sequence of major rights being followed up with each election, with each kind of person that you can see. Gloria had to bring people in because they would allocate slots to serve the community by how many people came in. Mike had to look at frontage because in the old neighborhoods, the parks, the lots, the blocks have small frontage. In the valley, it's completely different. And so they had to fight to change those kinds of, that's what you call institutional racism that is still, and we still have those kinds of features we're fighting at. Mike Ed gave tremendous leadership on all of those kinds of issues. And Gilbert, I see him as really somebody demanding really big awards, maybe even a Nobel Prize, because he, following steps by all of the ones before, he began a policy of saying the immigrant, with papers and without papers, is a full constituent in my district. And that's a beautiful thing for the city. Now, we can't be sure if we're going to hold. We have a tax on that right now. But with this guy Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, with the direction of the national government, we don't know what the next census counting and what the next state of our Voting Rights Act will be in the courts. So it has to be policy from the grassroots and people like here that are going to keep on the democracy that we have gained in this past half century in our struggles for representation. Thank you.
Members, thank you for joining us, and thank you for coming back from the break. This is an incredible district, a product of rich history, a district that looks optimistically forward. It's a place of incredible change. It has some of the most sought-after neighborhoods in the nation. This is according to many sources, including most recently Vogue. It is a place where everybody wants to be, and it is a place in which we will build this city on the east side of the river. I thank you for your attention, and I want everybody to join us as we cut the cake for our happy birthday to CD1. Thank you.
Members, Mr. Cedillo would like all of us to take a picture with him. Is that correct, Mr. Cedillo? Members, if you can please join Mr. Cedillo.
Tomorrow, though, I'll be there.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Congratulations. Let's move on to multiple speakers. Okay, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, are you here? Is Mr. Walsh? No, there he is. Mr. Walsh, you're speaking on items 2A, 2B, 3, 4A, and general public comment. Do you need me to repeat that again?
Yes.
2A, 2B, 3, 4A, and general public comment. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, thank you. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. And let's just look at number 2. And number two is removing various properties from rent escrow. You do an excellent job. I've been a renter here since '76. When you do a good job, I say you do a good job. I'm not one of these white people who say, you're all a bunch of crooks. That's not me. That's my skin color, but that's not me. Next one is number 3. And number 3 is funding the annual Lotus Festival, Children's Play Area. I've been to the Lotus Festival a number of times. It's a good use of tax money. Again, when Mr. Rue and Mr. O'Farrell do a good job, I am the first to congratulate you. And the next issue is number 4. These are the maps. The maps are in good shape. You have to check your map because they can change your district, and all of a sudden they can build a high-rise in your neighborhood. They do this all the time. We fight them in court, and generally speaking, in court, we win. Okay, that's enough for the agenda items. Did you see what just happened here? The meeting was going, and the fire alarm went off. We could have been burning to death. And what did you do up here? Nothing. You sat there with your fingers up your ass. You didn't tell us to evacuate. I learned that in the first grade. You evacuate when you hear a fire alarm. You did nothing. We could have all been burned to death because there is no plan. Whether it was the fire department finally came, we have no idea. Was there a fire on the 3rd floor? And the scumbag reporters, they got their fucking white asses out of here. They didn't cover the story. They were afraid of getting burned. And after it happened, they said, well, it was, proof that there was a fire. I'm telling you, this building has no plan. Absolutely no plan for a fire. And if you don't believe me, watch the goddamn tape and see them doing nothing. Weezer, finger up his ass. O'Farrell, finger up his ass. Price, finger up her. I won't say where you have your finger up. Englander, finger up his ass. Harris Dawson's going like this. You did nothing. You did fucking nothing.
No, Mr. Walsh, you're not.
Finger up your ass.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walsh.
You did nothing, and there could have been a fire.
Mr. Walsh, you're done. Glad you're safe, sir. Mr. Previn? Mr. Previn, you are speaking on items 3, 4, and general public comment. Go ahead.
You also have a special meeting, but that's coming up, right? Okay. So item number 3 is a $4,000 howdy-do from Mr. Rue and Mr. O'Farrell to get together the children's area at the play area at the Lotus Festival. This is the 37th annual Lotus Festival. I think everybody loves the Lotus Festival. I'm just concerned that Mr. O'Farrell is going to try to ban single men from attending the play area, and that's not going to happen because Mr. Rue certainly didn't agree to that one. And although Mr. O'Farrell tried during the election time to get that
Mr.
weird
Previn,
ordinance
you need to
going.
speak to the
No,
items,
this is about the
please.
Lotus Festival and the Children's Play Area. I want to make sure that all adults are permitted in there, not that weird energy that he was doing during his campaign that was nibbled on by somebody or other at your group. I just want to be clear about that. And $4,000 is a nice little contribution for the play area, but Mr. O'Farrell has to give back the $3,000 in excess contributions from Mr. Masaborski that at your little ethics commission up on the 10th floor, they made a finding against Mr. Masaborski and nailed him for $17,000 in penalties, Blumenfield, for a $3,000 excessive contribution. I think the least the council member can do is return that money. I mean, my God, what kind of a world do we live in, Supervisor to be, if I may, Martinez? I know you're not there yet, but one day soon. It's going to be tough between you and Koretz for 3rd District, but we're watching closely.
Mr. Previn, you need to speak to the
I
items,
know. Let's
sir.
stay
I
on point.
understand
Fair
that
enough.
political
Okay.
career is interesting, but please.
Well, shifting to item number 4, which is a final track map for what can only be described as the treasured partners of Hanjin International. For those who follow South Korean politics, the president has been drubbed out in a festival of corruption, and now this is a Kaibal family woman who was the heir. Now we have a new guy who is
Madam
awkwardly
President, he's still off
negotiating with
topic.
North
He's
Korea.
not on the agenda item.
I'm sorry, don't interrupt, City Attorney. I'm on.
Mr.
Hanjin
Previn,
International
this
is
is
doing
your
the
second
South Korea
warning,
building.
sir.
This is the tallest building in LA. Except for if you count roof to roof, then it's actually U.S. Bank. But if you count the spire, they win. And this is our treasured party. Mr. Wesson does not need to be corrected on that.
General public comment, Mr. Previn?
The general public comment can only be today about security, because later today at the budget hearing, Council Member Krikorian and others are going to shrug and go, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have to spend a lot of money upgrading the security to City Hall. True, the County Hall doesn't have nearly this kind of crazy security where everybody's being scanned, but as Mr. Englander pointed out in the early hearings, the pernicious Office of Finance stuff going on now and the escalating efforts on Bonnet's part to tag everybody and their brother for something or other has resulted in, I guess, some need to spend a lot of money to make sure that we don't have that horrifying incident like when somebody jumped on Bonnen's desk several years ago. But really, I think the public needs to be admitted to these meetings and to City Hall to participate and to be able to participate with our voices and in lawful ways, which we all try to do. But this body is busy enriching Wells Fargo and other groups while pushing out the public who try to bring those comments.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Next speaker is Mr. Spindler. You're speaking on items 2, 3, 4, and general public comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Welcome to the fire pit. Yes. Now you have submission of grant, $35 million for what? $35 million? Oh, for...
Madam President, that's item number 1.
Mr. Spindler, you filled out cards for 2, 3, 4. I need you to speak to the items or sit down.
Oh, because the city attorney says this shit was talked about on number 1. Okay. Number 2, the reprogram. Fuck the reprogram. I don't like it anymore. I used to like it, but no more. I am joining the revolution of Marchese Harris Dawson of getting rid of the reprogram. As he said in his speech, no mas. Yes, I agree. No more reprogram. Take every property off this fucking fraudulent program. It costs too much now to buy building inspectors. Building inspectors have increased their bribery fees by 24% in one fucking year. That is too much. And even Bob Blumenfield knows it's too much. Yes, I agree. Rue knows it's too much. It's too much to buy building inspectors, so go back on your contract at 1 o'clock and have the building inspectors lower the bribes to 20%, and we will support the reprogram. It's too much. We like to buy the building inspectors. When you do a good job, we say so. You're fucking up the reprogram. Now we get $4,000 for what? In number 4, the Lotus Children's Play Area. Well, I'm a puppet. I like to play. Yes, I support anything where we play. Like going over to the municipal court, filing criminal complaints and forging the signature. That's a way to play with little children like us. Yes.
Madam President, the speaker's not on topic.
It's a big grown-up.
You've been warned twice already. You either stay on the topic or you sit down.
Okay, Grand Jury Nori. Now we
Mr.
get to
Spinner.
meet the final maps. I know you're crying. Now we go to West Wilshire Boulevard on a map. Maps are good. Maps tell us where to go. In the case of the Hanjin International Corporation, oh, that's our Korean buddies, yes. Hanjin, what do we do, David Rue, when we see them? Yoga-sao, Yoga-sao. Give us more campaign donations. Yoga-sao, 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 money, 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 yes.
All right. So now, why does somebody who has a bar license that files criminal complaints do so with a forged signature on a verified complaint? Why? And then they get a demur sustained, and then they go back and file an amended complaint on something they forged with another signature. Is this the way we want to play? If you lose your bar card, city attorney, people working for the city attorney, you don't make your $157,000 anymore. You're going to do what most of us do. Wash car on the weekends and collect bottles and cans, like the rest of us schmucks. You need to drop the criminal charge in Van Nuys. If you do not, you will be like Percy Anderson. He'll be giving you 3 years in federal prison.
Mr. Herman.
Herman, are you here? 234 in general public comment.
You see, Mary, this is how children come to the public events. We're solely here relative to removing various properties from rent escrow. Although my Spanglish is not very good like yours, Nuri, I can zimmer through this propaganda of recommendations really quick. See, in CD5, which is Peppa Pig, 1810 South Pandora Avenue, we have an excuse for rape. No more violations. Thank you, Peppa Pig. Then I go into CD9. Who other than Price? The bigamist. East 54th Street. Tricked you. No, what about 78th Street? Case number 548607? The fuck with that? Let's go to item 3 now. Motion of Bitch O'Farrell relative to the funding of the 37th Annual Lotus Festival. A lotus is a beautiful, elegant little green plant that grows in swampy green water right there off of Alvarado at the park where me and my little service dog like to go and play. But sometimes redevelopment projects interrupt the services. Deny recreational parks for service dogs and individuals with disability, more so the elderly. Fuck you. Now let's go to the final maps. Various council districts, recommendations. This is in all disagreement, but the fat bald motherfucker, the final map of track number 71141 located at 930 West Wilshire Boulevard. Now what the fuck's Mr. Weasel doing on Northwest and Figueroa Street and Wilshire Boulevard? I don't know. He got redistricted. The map says you change this zone to to benefit the players. And then the player turns around and takes a zone to this zone, rookie. And then he says, oh, now it's been rezoned. Now we can do whatever the fuck we want. So on behalf of the public's interest on that matter, fuck you.
Thank you very much.
General public comment, ma'am. It's general public comment. And there's only one fucking concern I have today, is what if we would all burned in this facility with my service dog, my little child? What if she would have died because the building would have collapsed on us? That's why we should not have the Olympics. For that purpose and reason. You all sat there, as John Walsh very plainly put it, with your brown nose up your ass. You should pull your head out of your hole and smell it, because that's what it smelled like when the bakery was burning down the hall right now. But in addition to that, rookie, did you hear Mr. Spindler's public comment, rookie? He was talking about perjury. Herman Jason Weston Jr.'s perjury. And any one of you dumb motherfuckers that sign up on this shit is a part of that perjury. Stop lying to the media. Media, stop lying about Spindler. On Spindler's behalf, fuck you.
Next speaker, let's move on to item 2. Nailbouter, is there somebody here with that name? Sir, you filled out cards for 2C, 2D, and 2E. Do you know which one, what is the address that you're speaking on?
All of them.
You're speaking on all of them. Okay, go ahead.
I stand opposed to letting property owners off the hook. They're responsible for fire suppression, they're responsible for safety, and they're responsible for the acceptable living accommodations for their tenants, whether they be business tenants or personal tenants. Now, is the Olympic Committee still here? If they are, I would like to take them down to Skid Row and show them the stolen, disassembled bicycles on San Pedro.
Madam President, the
Sir,
speaker's
that's
gone
not
off
the
topic.
You're not on the items that you filled out a card for. You need to speak on the items you filled out a card for.
The residents on San Pedro have got to cope with the situation on the street, which includes stolen bicycles and fire hazard and sanitation hazard. Okay? I mean, is that part of the issue? All right. General comment, please. Public comment.
Did you fill out a card for public comment? Hold on, let me check. Hold on for just a second.
Public comment? Do I get a minute?
If you filled out a card, yes, but I'm looking up on the system to make sure that you did fill out a card. Hold on for just a second, please.
All right. My father helped build the atomic.
Go ahead. You filled out a card. Go ahead.
My father helped build the atomic bomb. Years ago, he took a business trip to Chicago and parked his car, and one of Chicago's finest walks up to the car and puts his burly arms on the windowsill of the car and says, I need some supper money. Hence the term, as applied to LAPD, supper money machine. You have, as I said before, you have stolen bicycles on San Pedro stacked as high as you can stand or I can stand, and the police department doesn't do anything about it. And yet they have contractors, or let's call them also known as tow truck harlots, who tow cars off the street and hold them for ransom for $500 an hour, and don't tell me you can't do 2 an hour. And in many cases in the same trip. So I'm trying to get my work truck back so I can get a place to live. Read the hat.
Thank you, sir. Members, let's go ahead and vote on items 2 and 4. Since we concluded public comment on those 2 items, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 3. We have 2 speakers. Go ahead. Mrs. Hiley, are you here? Ms. Hiley? Is there somebody here with that name? She's not in the council chambers. Next speaker is Yvonne Michelle Autry. You're speaking on item number 3.
Yes, I thought you were overlooking my request to speak. Someone had tried to steal my bicycle. I think that there not only needs to be increased space for those of us that ride bicycles, protecting, the fresh air that we still have.
Madam President, the speaker's not on the agenda item.
I'm sorry, which one is number 2? I requested...
You filled out a card for number 3.
As well as the bicycle transportation as well. I also submitted a request to speak regarding number 2 as well.
No, we already voted on that, ma'am. You only filled out a card for 3.
Alrighty, regarding I requested to speak regarding the transportation as well as the monies allocated for the celebration of the Lotus Festival for the Children's Play. That was number 1, and number 2, and then general public comment. So I did request to speak on that issue. So I wanted the money, of course, to be used for...
And you have your 1 minute of general public comment now.
Can you restore that time, please? Because I did request to speak regarding the transportation, specifically the bicycles.
Card for you on item number 3, and that's what we gave you time for, and now you're in general public comment.
Well, again, I'd like to support the Native American people, all people. We all need to preserve what we have of our environment that has not been destroyed, whether it's access to water, people above profits. Water is life. We need to keep their living space and our living spaces clean without any compromise because of your monies that have already been given. I know that you're already bought and paid for, but I'd like to support these people. We need to keep the water, the air, and the earth as clean as possible, not only for us but for our children. I'd also like to speak against Charter Amendment C, which would award or allow corrupt and criminal police officers, giving them the ability and also the authorization to continue to persecute and abuse, rape, and harass innocent people.
Thank you, Ms. Autry. That concludes your general public comment. Madam Clerk, please take your seat. Sergeants, can you please help Ms. Autry find her seat back? Sergeants. Sergeants. Sergeants, are you in the room? Can you help her find her seat? Thank you. That concludes speakers on item number 3. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and recess our general meeting and go into our special meeting. Can you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson, 11 members, and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay, where are the items?
Keep going.
Excuse me. Our meeting is not over. We recessed our general meeting. We're moving into our special meeting. I'll get back to general public comment. Take a seat. Thank you very much. We're happy to explain the rules, but you cannot yell from the back. Thank you.
Madam President, items 5 through 7 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection, those items are before us. Madam Clerk, do we have any cards on these items?
Yes, Madam President. There are cards on 5, 6, as well as 7.
Okay, go ahead and hold item 7 on the desk. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take cards on item number 5. Mr. Previn, item 5.
Thank you, Council President Martinez.
Sorry, you also filled out a card for item number 7. So go ahead and speak on item 5 and 7. Go ahead.
Go back to 0, if you wouldn't mind. Would you mind restoring the 10 seconds while you talked?
Sir, go ahead.
Okay.
Your time is running out.
Yeah, okay. Item number 5 is Mr. Koretz is, first of all, this is a guy who, in addition to providing some bike spaces and some parking, that was what the planning department, this is a man who rode his bicycle to San Francisco, so I do not want any misunderstanding here. Here we have a couple of guys trying to move forward with putting a unit above a parking structure and adding 50 square feet, expanding. That's their right, but the neighbors, part of the Devon Ashton Apartment Historic District, were concerned. They reached out to Mr. Koretz, who is very accessible, and they are throwing it back to planning to see what they can come up with. They're concerned in the alley that there might be some cars backing up, so when people are going to work, they might bump into one another. But fortunately, we're going to have 6 bike spaces available, so that if anybody wants to ride their bike across town, then Bonan's arranging to have a shower here at City Hall for those of us, because of course you do get a little, in Koretz's language, schwitzy if you ride your bike for many miles. So here we're going to resolve that, but we have to give kudos certainly to Mr. Koretz for looking out for the neighbors and stopping somebody from doing something on behalf of a small group who've obviously been incredibly enthusiastic for him. Item 7, you have Englander and you, Martinez, which is impressive, leading the charge against Henry Stern, which is extremely surprising because he's a treasured partner of Mr. Blumenfield's and many others from the Democratic Party side. But he would like the DWP to be more accountable about the way they bill and so on and so forth. And the City Hall does not need any help in exposing what's going on at DWP. That's why we have Ron Galperin, who does a great job of chirping up every now and again about the $1 $4 million fund, but the billions of dollars that wash through without real accountability.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Next speaker is Mr. Walsh.
5, 6, and 7.
You passed on all 3 items, sir? You filled out a card for 5, 6, and 7.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org and at J. Walsh Confidential, and not burned to death during the previous meeting. I'd like to point out that asserting this is number 5, West LA Planning Commission properties. Okay, the Planning Commission treats the developers the way Linda Lovelace treated her clients. We're 100% against that. John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, tweeting at HollywoodDems. Number 6 is a revocable permit for construction and related activities on West Venice Boulevard. I told my fellow Jews that once they got S kicked out, they were going into their neighborhood, into the Jewish neighborhood, just the way Hitler did when he got the majority.
Madam President, the speaker's not on the agenda item.
Mr. Walsh, I'm going to remind you again to stay on the items,
Let me tell you,
please.
this is West Venice Boulevard. This is a property subject to the applicant satisfying conditions of issuing a permit. They're going into your neighborhoods, your Jewish neighborhoods now, and they're going to really give it to you. And number 7, relative to establishing the city's position on Senate Bill 801, an unfunded mandate, that means we have to pay for it, to the Department of Water and Power. I'm surprised. I'm glad that we didn't have a fire here because I don't think the water and power people have this place hooked up to for a huge fire. So I'm telling you right now, include the city's state legislative program opposition and would impose an unfunded mandate requiring the LAP to install an additional 100 megawatts of energy storage. That's what we want. We want energy storage, and what this will do is make fires, the way we almost had one today, more likely. And what will happen is look what it says here, compromise the security and reliability of the power system. The system is compromised already. It's falling apart. We have false alarms or real alarms. We have fires. We have a fire department in here. And the LA Times doesn't do one goddamn bit of reporting because they're on their knees in front of the mayor because they want to suck his cock.
Okay, next speaker is Herman. You're speaking at items 5, 6, and 7.
Ms. Chair, with my disability, I'd like to speak on item number 6 and the hell with item number... No. Let me go back, ma'am. Yeah. Here it is. Kudos. Yes. In CD5, we're talking about the Los Angeles area planning. The commission by Koritz and Mr. Fat-Ass Baldman Wizard relative to the asserting a jurisdiction to assert a jurisdiction pursuant. Well, I'm against mansionization because people need to live in their homes. Now I'm going to go to item number... Yeah, this item here. Item number 6 in CD5, once again. And that fat bald fuck Weezer relative to issuing a revocate permit. Well, you know what? We don't want revocate permits because LLC, let me tell you, rookie, during the process of the BOE under the MOU, there was a misunderstanding why MOU didn't tell the BOE what the hell MOU was doing. So they made a mistake. So it comes back to the Planning Commission, fool. Now, excuse me, I'm speaking, sir. Keep your tone down. Now, determining that upon the recording, sir, you're distracted to me because I have a disability. You don't have to fuck with me. Relax. I'm almost done. So, going back to that situation regarding recording, investing, tentative track map, I talked about the tentative track map because I was discriminated against where I was rezoned. And now into item number 7. Nuri Grand Jury Martinez and the Dibble Dwarf, kudos, relative to establishing the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. No. You see, if the Water and Power wouldn't have overcharged us, we wouldn't have this consideration of the motion. You see that, Hugo? That's the reason why at additional 100 MW, I don't know if that means mitigation on the west side or to remember what's MW on the west side. So going back to the energy storage of 120 days after the adoption, Hugo, it's to remember that this includes provisions for no compromise, because DWP didn't compromise when they sent out all those illegal bills, rookie. Yeah, I got a bill for $6,000 for using too much water to flush out my ass. It's called a douchebag, like the rest of you. I reserve my time, Madam Speaker.
5, 6, and 7.
Mr. Spindler, you're speaking on 5, 6, and 7.
Well, thank you. I don't have my puppet, so I have a speaking impediment. But West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission, and it go to CD. Is that compact disc CD number 5? Who's CD number 5? Oh, Councilman Peppa Pig. Correct. So that he like to get them rich people on South Beverly Grand more fucking shit to build more fucking the dwellings, more fucking dwellings for existing fucking apartment fucking building and 2-story mansion fucking bullshit. I can't afford the rents because I don't have like the councilman
he rent his apartment in West Hollywood for $5,000 a month, while he get a rent control apartment for $900 a month. That little fat fuck. Okay, now number 6, also from CD5, and he's called Councilman Peppa Pig Correct. And so that's on West Venice. Again, we're taking and digging like little doggies. Dig, 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 dig. Woo, woo. And then taking around and supplying junk bonds. Woo, woo. And then we dig more and demolish and excavate and construct on exposition. Woo, woo. And then we get vesting track maps, and then the junk bonds get put in for tax-exempt bonds. Woo, woo. And then we build all this shit, and then Donald Trump, he'll crash the stock market, and then all these motherfuckers will buy them at the auction. Woo, woo, woo. So now we get to number 7. Oh, number 7, 100 megawatts of energy storage. Yes. More electricity. But the problem is the bitch up there never lowers our rates. How come the bitch never lowers our rates? Every time they get more money and they get a discount from the Southern California facilities, and they never
Madam President, the speaker has gone off the agenda item.
Rates. Look at her up there. She keep increasing my rates. She need to lower my rates. Southern California Edison lower my rates. But this motherfucker never lower my rates. They keep increasing my rates while they get more money in their pocket.
Next speaker is Yvonne Michelle Audrey. Michelle, are you still here? She's not in the council chambers. So we're going to move on to speakers on item 5. Robert M. Robert M., are you here on item 5? And also Albert. I understand that, but I called you first, so you come up and then you speak. Just one. You have 1 minute, Mr. Robert M.
Hi, Councilmember Koretz. We are the applicant on this project. We began this project in 2013 as a 5-unit building. Over the course of 3 years, we did 2 architectural revisions. We had community meetings at nearby churches, and we reduced this project from a 5-unit building to a 1-unit addition on top of an existing garage outside of the public view in an alleyway. After 3 years at the Design Review Board, we finally received the Design Review Board's approval. There was an appeal filed by a tenant who lives inside the building, who you know very well. We spent an additional 1 year at the Area Planning Commission and had 3 meetings at the Area Planning Commission where we finally received their blessing as well to continue. And now before you is a motion by Mr. Koretz to conduct further review on this project that's already been delayed by 4 years. This is a 1-unit project.
Thank you, sir. Now, Robert M., you have a minute as well to speak on item 5. Albert?
I just want to mention that this whole project has been stonewalled by one tenant in the building, and they've been, stopping us all the way through. And that's not right.
This project,
sir, you already spoke. Albert M. is the person who filled out a card for another minute. So, no, you cannot speak for him. He filled out his own card. He needs to speak for himself. Okay? Hold his time for just a second. I just want to make sure they understand.
Just read this. This 1-unit project.
Yeah, I just said it.
Has been stonewalled by Mr. Koretz. Can I speak?
No. You've already had your minute. He needs to speak on his own card, okay? You don't want to add anything else, sir? No? Okay. Thank you. That concludes cards for item number 5. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
Okay, that item passes. Let's move on to item number 6. Joe Jimenez on item number 6. Joe Jimenez. And we also called Michelle Autry, and she's not in the council chambers as well. So that concludes cards on item number 6. Let's go ahead and take that item up. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes. Passes. Let's move
11
on.
ayes.
Let's move on to item number 7. Alexandra Nagy. There's a number of speakers on this item, so I'm going to call your names. Please stand behind Ms. Nagy when I call your name. Tyler Aguirre and Faith Mithra.
Good morning. My name is Alexandra Nagy. I'm the senior organizer with Food and Water Watch here in Los Angeles. I respectfully ask for you to postpone this vote on opposing SB 801. I know that Senator Stern's office is still in negotiations with DWP and Councilmember Martinez on finding a resolution to make this bill work for everyone. We really need to prioritize clean energy solutions for Los Angeles. Aliso Canyon will remain offline, and we need to do everything we can to make sure LADWP is being a leader. LADWP's customers have been the most affected by this gas blowout disaster. People are still getting sick. Almost a year and a half since the blowout was capped, we're starting to see children developing leukemia, anemia, cancer that comes from the benzene from that facility. So we really need LA to take the lead. Please don't oppose this bill at this time. There's still room for negotiations. We need you to postpone this or vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Faith Mira. Are you here? Faith Mira? I hope I got your last name correct. Hold on for just a second. Let me call the next speaker. Carl Hope.
Yeah, she was ahead of me. Tyler.
And Tyler Aguirre. Okay, go. Do you want to go first? Whomever. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Faith Myra. I'm an organizer with Food and Water Watch, and I'm a constituent in Council District 11. I urge the City Council to postpone this vote or to vote no on this motion. If the City of LA and the DWP has concerns about SB 801, Senator Stern is open to dialogue and amendments. The motion to oppose the prioritization of 100 megawatts of battery storage is hypocritical at best. The city has already approved rates to install 175 megawatts of battery storage by 2021. With the Aliso Canyon facility unavailable except for emergencies, now is the time to rapidly install battery storage and other renewable technologies. Don't set progress back for Los Angeles. Delay or vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, are you Tyler Aguirre?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, hi. I'm a constituent in District 4 in Councilmember Rue's district. I'm here today to ask the council to vote no on this resolution opposing SB 801, or at the very least pull this resolution until it can be properly heard and deliberated in committee. This is a good bill. The Aliso Canyon disaster showed us that we can no longer rely on natural gas storage as a safe and reliable source of energy backup. We need to be investing in technology, battery storage technology. This is why DWP keeps saying we can't go renewable, we don't have the battery technology. This bill is a good bill. If there's concerns, as Alex Nagy stated, Senator Stern's office is open to dialogue and conversation about this. Please vote no. Thank you.
Next speaker is Carl Hope, followed by Diane Hope, followed by Lane Zemper.
I am Carl Hoppe. I vote in Councilman Bonin's district. I'm here to support Senator Stern's Senate Bill 801. In January, Council Member Englander said that he would work with Senator Stern to implement SB 801 in the DWP territory. Councilman Englander said that with our expanding innovations in clean renewable energy and safe storage technology, we must move immediately to end our dependency on old facilities like the Aliso Canyon. To meet the city's stated goals, we need Councilman Englander and all the council members to work supportively with Senator Stern. If there are problems with SB 801, discuss these, find compromises. Don't sabotage this bill. Vote no on the motion to oppose 801.
Diane Hoppy, followed by Lane Zemper, followed by Nancy Farias.
My name is Diane Fletcher Hoppy. I live in Councilman Bonin's district also. The City Council motion to oppose SB 801, the energy storage bill, sets back the LA Sustainability Plan. The LA Sustainability Plan sets a target of total megawatt energy storage capacity to at least 1,654 megawatts by 2025. Senator Stern's bill, SB 801, sets an immediate prioritization of 100 megawatts due to the Aliso Canyon disaster. It is shocking that LA City Council is looking to oppose SB 801 when the city's own goals surpass it, and DWP is studying pathways to 100% renewable energy. I urge the Council to vote no on this motion to oppose SB 801. Please don't set LA back as a leader on climate and energy.
The next speaker is Lane Zemper, followed by Nancy Farias and Gina Goodhill.
Lane Semper, I reside in Councilmember Koretz's district. The solution to our energy needs is battery storage. I strongly support Senator Stern's SB 801 to strengthen long-term health protection and our economy. LADWP can afford it, but we can't afford the adverse effects of dirty energy, including the devastating effects of climate change. This morning in Chamber, I heard the mention of LA City Council opposing the Trump administration's agenda. Your no vote goes hand in hand with doing the right thing. 7,000 Californians lose their lives each year due to fossil fuel pollution. Gas and oil induces deadly cancer, respiratory diseases, and asthma. We must hold these corporations accountable, and SB 801 is a common sense necessity in taking the burdens off of residents. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nancy Farias, followed by Gina Goodhill, followed by Brooke Robbins.
Madam President, members, Nancy Farias with State Senator Henry Stern's office representing the 27th Senate District, which includes Porter Ranch, which would also include Aliso Canyon, where the blowout occurred. I just wanted to start off by thanking everyone today because everybody was very amenable to me coming into the office early this morning. But at this point, we really believe that the resolution is premature. We understand the concerns of DWP, and we've been working with them, and we are asking here today if we can put the resolution off for a week while we continue those negotiations. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Gina Goodhill, followed by Brooke Robbins and Daryl Gale.
Thank you for taking public comments today. I'm Gina Goodhill with Tesla, and we also support SB 801 and ask that the Council does not pass this resolution today or at least postpones it. The bill, SB 801, ensures that storage for LA is cost-effective and that the benefits will outweigh the costs. We know that LADWP has already planned to add storage to their electric system, but this bill directs storage online near term to address the electric reliability issues that have come up as a result of Aliso Canyon. It will provide that storage on an expedited emergency basis with the goal of minimizing reliance on the Aliso facility. SCE has recently procured storage, and we can see from that we are able to get this online quickly in about 4 months to create backup and create jobs in the process. Regardless of what action the Council takes today, we look forward to working with the City and with LADWP on increasing storage in LA to decrease our reliance on the Aliso Canyon natural gas. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Brooke Robbins, followed by Daryl Gale and Horseman, which I believe is probably Herman. Go ahead.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Brooke Teal Robbins. I am founder and current president of Indivisible Suffragettes, one of over 5,000 indivisible groups nationwide resisting Trump's agenda. It's important to understand there are many like-minded organizations in solidarity of the item number 7 today and voting no, or to postpone, to amend, as many other citizens have stated today, for serious facts and figures to take into consideration. I'm aware that you take in a lot of information daily, and in your advocacy and your representation of the citizens of the city, and I hope that you use it as a metaphor of like your own house when you go back to your home today, that in a foundation for a home, it's very important that, yes, you build a home, but you build it with stability. That's why it should be postponed to amend. We need stability for this item. So please take that into consideration and vote no or postpone to amend.
Thank you. The next speaker is Daryl Gale, followed by Veronica.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Gale, and I'm in Councilman Weezar's district. Please vote no on SB 801. Renewable energy combined with battery storage is an important part of our comprehensive plan to segue off of fossil fuels. And I'm talking about Los Angeles and the DWP leading the way and then bringing the rest of California behind us. Just the way that the Divest LA people are working on getting us off of fossil fuels, we have to segue more into more and more affordable solar panels, electric cars, electric buses, and trucks. Then we will improve our air and create new sustainable jobs. Numerous reports talk about how solar has more jobs than all the other energy sources combined. And then maybe sometime soon we will finally meet federal smog air requirements. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'm Veronica Wilson. Thanks for listening. I'm honored to be here on Tongva land. I live in Councilman Weezar's district and work in Councilmembers Cedillo's district. I'm shocked and dismayed that Council members Englander and Martinez have put forward this motion to oppose SB 801. Now is the time to double down on battery storage and renewable energy technology. Councilmember Englander, you vowed to work with Senator Stern to implement this bill in DWP territory. Councilmember Martinez, we know Senator Stern is open to working with you to make SB 801 work for everyone. I urge the City Council to postpone a vote on this motion. Do not pass this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the final speaker. We will close public comment. And Councilwoman Martinez?
Thank you. I'd like to ask, is anyone here from the department? If you can please come to the table. So colleagues, you've heard a lot of public testimony from folks that are very passionate about doing the right thing for the environment and for the future of our power system and renewable energy. I am also really proud that as a council we share the same priorities. But the resolution before us, however, does not have the same priorities in and of themselves. The resolution before us is self-explanatory, and nothing in the resolution states or suggests that the City Council is against battery storage. Again, we're not suggesting that we're against battery storage. In fact, we know LA has and continues to be a leader in this area. Instead, the resolution is really about a bill that creates a $200 million unfunded mandate. $200 million unfunded mandate. This resolution is about a bill that would take away local control of our assets and infrastructure. And this resolution is about a bill that essentially makes DWP ratepayers fund a research agency for private companies and investors. None of us can feel comfortable about that. Now, setting these concerns aside, there are some very clear and well-intended objectives in the proposed bill. The bill wants to improve data accessibility. I could not agree with that more than that. I completely agree with that part. The bill wants to foster battery storage as the next step to building public utilities that maximize their renewable energy sources. I agree with that as well. In fact, while the bill is proposed to mandate us to procure 100 megawatts of energy storage immediately, DWP has already planned on installing 175 megawatts of storage by the year 2021. by 2021 within a rate structure that consumers can actually predict. Is that correct? And can you speak to that as well?
Yes. Yes, that is correct. We have issued an RFP. In fact, we accelerated it to install 20 megawatts of battery storage. We anticipate that we will be able to award that or recommend award within the next few months. We support storage. The department and the city invested in storage in the 1970s with the 1,200 megawatts at Castaic. We continue to look for areas where we can integrate storage into our grid, into the generation, into distribution, into substations. So yes, we absolutely support it. We support environmental goals. We have a mandate for 25% renewables by 2016. We, subject to our audit, we will be very close to 29%, well above the mandates.
Did you want to add anything?
I just want to mention that out of the 175 megawatts, we accelerate 50 megawatts from 2021 to 2018 and 2019 deployment. That means in service. So that's due to Aliso Canyon efforts so that we can assist in the effort. So we already accelerated the effort for Aliso Canyon.
And I just want to clear up in terms of a lot of public comment was suggested that we postpone today's vote because there's still time for us to work with the author. I have tried over the last 3 weeks to forward our amendments to the author in terms of our concerns about local control in this unfunded mandate. This bill has now been waived out of appropriations, and now it's before the Senate floor. So I think I've done my share of sharing my concerns with the author about how I feel in terms of protecting our ratepayers and how we're going to come up with a $200 million mandate. So the unfunded mandate imposed on us, we're going to have to meet somehow. So that's one of the biggest concerns I have. And we will be doing it by either raising rates or by deferring the critical power infrastructure and reliability work that DWP has already planned and has been underway in terms of our rate structure. Again, DWP, I just want to make sure that my statement is accurate, that communities like mine, communities of color, poor communities, and senior citizens on a fixed income, when we have unfunded mandates, what does that mean for our ratepayers? A mom that has to increase her electricity bill, her water bill $5, $10, when she's trying to raise a family of 4 or 5 kids on her own, raising your water bill is not something that we take lightly. And it's more likely that underserved communities like mine and communities of color would have to come up with the increase our water rates to be able to pay for an unfunded mandate. It's one of the biggest concerns that I have about this bill. And members, I don't take this lightly. Anytime we talk about taking local control away from the city of Los Angeles, we should all be very concerned. We should all be very concerned that communities of color continue to pay the financial burden for bills just like this. When we talk about the financial burden, we're also ensuring that our communities are not having to pay for the cost of unreliable power sources, which I continue to talk about. If potential blackouts occur and other issues arise because we've delayed critical infrastructure on the work that we have already set forward, what does that mean? Blackouts occur and an imbalance to our system. What does that mean to communities like Sun Valley, communities like Harbor Gateway, that have generating stations that unfortunately we would have to increase production and increase emissions if we decide to power these generating stations? We burn these so in order to keep the power going. Who are the communities that get affected every time this happens? It's communities like mine, poor communities, underserved communities, communities of color who have historically in the city of Los Angeles have paid the price for these types of infrastructure repairs and infrastructure situations that continue to happen. So colleagues, the irony here is that the broader objective of this bill are very similar to the objectives of the city of Los Angeles, and I certainly want to take part of the solution, and I want to make sure that we all do that, but it should not be on the backs of our ratepayers, especially in low-income communities and senior citizens who are in fixed incomes. I completely agree that we should advance in battery storage, and that we continue to support our 100% renewable energy in Los Angeles. I could not concur with that even more, but I reiterate that it cannot be on the backs of our ratepayers. And can you imagine if we did not have local control? Most of the progress that Sacramento has already made has been on the backs of the leadership of Los Angeles, and it has not been the other way around. So I ask for your aye vote on the support of this resolution. If on the floor of the Senate floor we're able to work with the author to amend the bill, I'm happy to continue to work with him on that. But as of now, having been waived out appropriations, it's on the floor. I don't see any other way but to continue to be against this bill until our two issues get resolved. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Councilwoman Martinez. Mr. Spindler, Mr. Herman, you've been warned. That's your final warning. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, as far as Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman, they've been constantly making animal noises, jumping out of their seats and gesturing. And I encourage you to remove them now, but if not, certainly the next time any such thing happens.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. And they have been warned, and they will be removed if they act up one more time.
Now, as far as this issue, I'm in kind of a quandary. I appreciate Ms. Martinez's leadership and all of the work that she's done on this item, and I recognize we can't afford to let this bill go forward as it is. We don't have the money in DWP to kick in an extra $250 million. On the other hand, it's difficult to vote against battery storage, and we know climate change is a deadly issue on our horizon, and if we're not taking every step that we can, we're making a mistake. So it's very hard for me to vote against an item that would take a major step against climate change, even though it is inappropriately expensive for us. It's a timeline of 4 months that I don't think we can possibly meet. And there are a lot of things that are wrong with this bill. It's hard for me to see voting against it, so I would ask that we continue this item, hold it on the desk, and give ourselves a few days to negotiate further with Henry Stern's office to make an important issue read the way it should and not unnecessarily negatively impact our department and our city. But we do need to move on this, and we do need to move faster than we're planning now. So I think we can negotiate something. I know every effort has been made in the last few weeks, but I think if we give ourselves a few more days that we can get to where we need to. So I think it's too hard for me to vote against battery storage, and so I will be probably voting no, but not with any malice towards the author or disagreement with her side. I just think we can reach this without having to oppose an important measure of this great importance.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Bonin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm stuck similarly in the place that Mr. Koretz is in seeing merit but also seeing some problems. I think one of my concerns, which hasn't been stated, is that along with Mr. Krikorian and with Mr. Koretz as a second, we put in a motion several months ago asking DWP, the environmental community, researchers to come together in a consortium to chart out a path to 100% renewable energy and to identify all the various roadblocks and figure out what we need to do as policymakers to remove the roadblocks so we can get there. And one of the central ideas behind that was to actually come up with a master plan and a clear strategy and not do one-off stuff like this. And so I have that concern with it. I certainly agree with the intention behind Senator Stern's bill, and I'm sympathetic to that. But I also think it's worth noting Ms. Martinez's point is that historically Los Angeles has really been a leader more so than the rest of the state, and I'm concerned about the principle of local control, because local control historically over the past 20 years is what has gotten us more of the environmental victories and frankly has inspired, I think, the state more than vice versa. What I'm struggling with here are two things. The first is the so-called unfunded mandate, because on one hand we're saying we can't afford to do this, on the other hand we're saying, well, we're already doing this. So explain to me how, because I guess it's a difference in pace, how that creates the unfunded mandate and the impact if it's something we're going to be doing anyway.
There are two different things there. So there is a timeline there that is just, I don't see any possible way you can meet the timeline that's in there. And the mandate is on top of what we're already planning to do. So the 175 or 178 that we have in our plan doesn't count. This goes above and beyond that. That's why it's unfunded. Our plan funds the 175, 78 that's in our integrated resource plan right now.
So it would require us to go above and beyond that?
Yes.
Okay. So then there's the question that Mr. Koretz raises is, would a couple more days give us the opportunity to sort of negotiate something? And I appreciate the senator's office coming forward and saying that they're open, although there seems to be a time concern. And I appreciate the work that Ms. Martinez has done to try to offer amendments. What I'm having a hard time understanding is whether or not there's amendments that actually could work. Because what I'm not hearing is a difference in details. Basically what I'm hearing is correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that would satisfy DWP is if DWP were exempted from the bill. What changes would the senator need to make in the bill to make the city more comfortable?
One of the mandates we currently have, there's AB 2514 on energy storage. It did not create a hard mandate that publicly owned utilities have an energy storage hard number. That was up to the local regulatory body, and so the council has approved certain storage amounts, which is the 175 megawatts. If the way the bill is written today, it lists that it's in addition to what we already have planned. If what the local regulatory, the city council has contemplated under our current program, the 78 megawatts under AB 2515, if that could count, then that would certainly, that's not an additional unfunded mandate. We can still do our storage. We have already accelerated it. We can continue down that path.
Essentially, you're saying we're being potentially penalized for being aggressive about this in the first place?
Yes.
Okay, that's a very important and significant point to make. The one thing I'll note, because in struggling at the same thing Mr. Koretz says, I'm inclined to support Ms. Martinez on this. I'm sort of teetering on the seesaw because this is not a hard opposition. What this states here is oppose unless amended to address these concerns. So what this effectively says is the same thing as continue, except it's giving us a mechanism and some leverage to try to get the amendments in. So I think in terms of trying to reach the goal that we want is to get this bill passed statewide, to preserve local control, and to get credit for what we're doing, the wise strategy is to take the position recommended, which is to oppose unless amended, and then fight like hell to work with the author to get those amendments in.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Bonin. I think that really summed up the issues very well, and I would just, I guess, add to that if the amendments are made, then there's nothing stopping the council from immediately adopting a support position as well, which I think we would all be inclined to do. And I share many of the sentiments that were expressed by Mr. Koretz, with whom I have worked in the legislature and here on so many environmental issues. But I come to a little different outcome because this vote today is in no way a vote against battery storage. In no way. And so I can't come to the same conclusion about that because voting in support of this motion does not in any way suggest a step back or a change in direction in our commitment to battery storage or renewable energy. And in fact, Mr. Bonin, I think, very succinctly summed up why, in some respects, this state mandate may interfere with our ability to achieve our 100% renewable goal. And look, when I was in the legislature, I authored the 33% renewable mandate bill. And although it was vetoed by a previous governor, it laid the foundation for what Jerry Brown eventually did, setting the state on this path. That was my bill. And in the course of doing it, we had plenty of stakeholders who took positions of support unless amended, or support if amended, oppose unless amended, and every variation of that. And you take that into account, and you refine the bill, and you make it better, and you make it work, so that it's not just a bumper sticker slogan, but it's something that actually works in the real world. And I think Mr. Bonnett's point about what we're doing with renewables is exactly that step. It's designed to work towards a 100% renewable goal in a way that can actually be achieved, instead of just bragging about a number that we know we will never reach unless we make the investments and the kind of policy decisions that are difficult to make that'll get us there. So this is the same kind of thing. We're already moving towards battery storage. Battery storage is absolutely imperative to being able to increase our renewable portfolio standard because of the variability of most renewables. If we don't have storage, we won't be able to maximize particularly our utilization of solar. But let me just point out a couple of more problems that I see with doing this. First, this bill mandates that the CPUC order the Department of Water and Power to do a variety of things. The California Public Utilities Commission has no regulatory authority, zero regulatory authority over any publicly owned utility in the state of California. None. And that's a good thing, because in Sacramento, I can tell you, the influence of the energy companies on the CPUC drives policy a lot. And that's why we lead the way, Mr. Bonnet. That's why a publicly owned utility with a council that's deeply committed to environmental sustainability can advance the ball. That's why we're ahead of state mandates on getting off coal. That's why we're ahead of state mandates on our renewable portfolio, and it's why we're ahead of what they want us to do already on battery storage. The reason is because we can make those decisions without interference by Edison and others who move policy in Sacramento. So I think it would be a grave mistake, and it would do damage to all of the environmental advances that we've made here, to let the CPUC get its nose under the tent and start regulating the municipally owned utility that everyone here owns and that we have influence over. That would be a very big mistake, and it would probably set us back on what we're trying to accomplish with our 100% renewable goal. So I just rise, and I see I'm over my time. I could go on, but I think Mr. Bonnet's point with regard to this interim step of just saying oppose unless amended, work with the author on the amendments. Next week, by the time those amendments are agreed to and the amendments are actually in on the Senate floor, we can come back with a support position. And I think we'd be eager to do that. But we can't have a bill that is not workable for the municipally owned utilities, including this one, or for its ratepayers, or for our environmental goals. And that's where we are now. So I would stand in support of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Blumenfield?
Thank you. And I want to echo what my colleagues have said so far. I'm very appreciative of all the statements. And I'm also appreciative of Senator Stern for bringing this forward. Battery storage is indeed, it's the holy grail for renewable energy. I've long believed that, and as we can push the envelope, we need to do it. Oppose unless amended does not mean we're going to oppose it. We want to work with you to get this going. One thing I see in here, we all talk about the need to not have an unfunded mandate. The bill authorizes the PUC to give us money from some of the fines and fees. If we can move that from an authorization to actually directing some of those fines and fees to the Department of Water and Power to pay for this, that would go a long way toward assuaging our concerns about the unfunded mandate. But I just wanted to express my appreciation for the senator for bringing this issue forward and for pushing the envelope on battery storage, because that is indeed what we need to do. And I would look forward to working with my colleagues and the senator to try to tweak the language to get it to something where we can, as a group, embrace it and support it. And with that, I'm going to support the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. And to close, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner and Mr. Krikorian, for reading the actual resolution. I appreciate that. And I ask for your aye vote as well in support of our resolution. We need to get our shared goals in place and in a manner that advances our work, which, in my opinion, the bill as it stands does not. So I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no other speakers on the queue, we'll call for a vote. Open roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you.
Mr. President, would the council like to adjourn the special meeting and return to the regular meeting?
Yes, but could we send it forthwith first? Item number 7 forthwith?
Yes,
and we'll
sir.
adjourn the special meeting.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and go back to general public comment. First speaker, Courtney. Mr. Krikorian, I'm sorry, go ahead. Can you put up his mic? His mic is off.
Thank you, Madam President. Before we begin public comment, I just wanted to make an announcement that given the hour and the fact that we're still not finished with this meeting, we're going to have to delay the start of the Budget and Finance Committee. Initially, we'll see if we can start by 1:30. It may get pushed a little bit more depending upon how long this meeting takes, but we'll go ahead and reset it for 1:30. I just wanted to let all the departments and everybody else who wants to attend know that.
Yeah, you might want to reconsider 1:30. There's close to 36 public comment cards.
Okay, then
You want to make it 2
given
o'clock?
that, let's go ahead and start at 2 then. So
2
Budget and Finance will start at 2 o'clock.
Okay, the first speaker is Kronis. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next speaker is Tayana Vizcarra. Are you here?
Yeah.
The next speaker is Ben Hutnut and Kai Utsumi. Can I have those 4 speakers please line up? Courtney, go ahead.
Originally, I came here in support of Divest LA to get the city to divest from Wells Fargo. However, my public comment actually has to do with the council's own behavior. I worked with kids, middle school kids, for years, and one thing that I learned is that it's impossible to talk and listen at the same time. So if you're here claiming that you're representing people that are here and taking time out of their day to meet with you, but you're on your phone on Facebook and Instagram, because we can see if you're on Facebook or Instagram, and you're eating cake and having conversations with each other, that automatically lets all of us know that our taking time out of our day to come and listen to you, that you're not taking us seriously. One man over here made a comment about people making animal noises and how they should have to leave because they're not being serious. So the only question that I have for you is, how do you expect any of us to take you seriously when you're not listening to anything that we're saying? Thanks.
Can I have everyone else sit down, just the people that I called? Stand in line, please. Can you please take your seats?
We're all one, man.
We're all together.
We're all right here to the side so everybody can get
Thank you.
We're all
Give our speakers enough space to come up to the podium. Tayana Vizcarra, are you here?
Yes.
The next speaker is Ben Hutnut, Kai Utsumi, and Veronica. Go ahead.
Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. James Baldwin. It's time that we get on the agenda, and it's time we face the reality that you are not hearing us. We have been coming together and meeting, and we're not being taken seriously. My name is Tayana. I'm a descendant from the Pirotiwa Pueblo people of New Mexico, and I am a water protector and a defender of the land. I want to acknowledge and give thanks to the Tongva people, the original people of the land. Today, I have settled here in Los Angeles and made it my home for almost 30 years. I married, birthed children, and as a young widow, it was here I raised my boys to men. This beautiful land is my sanctuary, and I know it intimately, as my feet have been running deep into these mountains since the day I arrived. Therefore, I grieve that Mother Earth is being denied and abused. And we need to change it because she's at risk.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Your next speaker is Ben Hudnut, followed by Kay Utsumi, Veronica, and Javier Sarmiento. Ben Hudnut, are you here? Ben Hudnut is not here. The next speaker is Kai Utsumi. Kai Utsumi, followed by Veronica, followed by Javier Sarmiento. Go ahead, sir.
I believe in human rights for all people. Divest LA from Wells Fargo. The most repressed and poorest people of this land include indigenous people, the original people of this land, before the European settlement. The Sioux people in North Dakota have been protesting for a year against the Dakota Access Pipeline, a source of pollution for clean water and land. I heard on radio this morning that it had sprung a leak 200 miles from the Sioux Reservation. Divest from Wells Fargo. People over profit. Clean water is life. Indigenous and all life matters. Remember the BP oil spill? Climate change is real, and oil fossil fuel contributes to climate change.
Thank you very much.
Divest.
The next speaker is Veronica, followed by Javier Sarmiento, followed by Tamara Case. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thanks. Again, I'm honored to be here on Tongva land, which would be great for the council to remember every time they open this floor, every morning of every week and every year. I'm asking, as others have here before, that LA be on the right side of history, say no to Wells Fargo, that LA be on the side of families, moms, and dads, and kids who need clean air, clean water, and who need homes. Put the divestment motion on the agenda, say no to Wells Fargo, and yes to the families of Los Angeles. And thanks for letting me be here in solidarity with Indigenous people.
Thank you. The next speaker is Javier Sarmiento. Javier is not here. Thank you for letting me know. The next speaker is Tamara Case. Tamara, are you here? Yes, ma'am. And then followed by Cheyenne Phoenix and Irene Montantes. Go ahead.
Good day, Council. Thank you for hearing us. I'd like to honor the fact and acknowledge the fact we're on Tongva land. I have a message from the Tongva elder, Ms. Gloria Arianes. Good morning, Council. I would like to give you a brief message and urge you to expedite your decision as to whether the City of Los Angeles will vote and divest accounts all Wells Fargo holdings from Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo continues to be exposed for more unethical practices and their bad financial dealings. The latest being what I can only describe as disgusting by profiling what the news media described as immigrants and Native people and has imposed scam tactics for banking gains. Please disassociate from City of Los Angeles and a bank that may scam your city funds. Thank you, Gloria Arianes, Tongva Elder. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Next speaker is Cheyenne Phoenix, Irene Montantes.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Cheyenne Phoenix. I wanted to talk about the motion introduced by Mr. Mitchell Farrell here, part of the Council. And I wanted to address that As somebody who represents the indigenous people of Los Angeles, somebody who was born and raised here in Los Angeles, and I was once proud to say that I came from the city that's built on Tongva land. I wanted to ask you what you're doing here. Are you representing us? Are you really representing the people of Los Angeles and the original First Nations people of Los Angeles? I wanted you to acknowledge the fact that your $8 billion investment in Wells Fargo needs to go, and it needs to be left alone, as well as any other ties to any other fossil fuel industries. Think about your children. Think about your lives. Think about your water and your air, because it all depends on it. You can't drink oil, and water is life. So thank you.
Thank you. Are you Irene?
Yes,
I just want to make an announcement really quick. We're in danger of losing quorum for our meeting. So if you guys want to consolidate your comments so that we can get everyone some adequate time to speak, because in about 7 minutes we're going to lose quorum in this chamber, and we're going to have to adjourn our meeting if we don't have quorum. So you guys want to talk among yourselves who's going to speak for you, just to make sure that everyone has an opportunity as a group to be heard. But there's no way we're going to get through all these cards without losing quorum. I just want to make sure you know that. Because if we do not have quorum up here, we cannot continue our meeting, and you're not going to be heard. So I don't know if some of you want to consolidate amongst each others to make sure that the group is represented. Okay? So the next speaker is Irene.
Good afternoon.
Hold on for just a sec. Denise Romero, are you here? Ernesto Burbank? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Irene Montantes. I would like to give recognition that we are here on Tongva land. I was born here, and so were my two children that are here with me. The purpose of my presence here today and every other time I have attended these meetings for the past 2 months is not just to continue to push the divestment, but to ask all of you here at City Council to completely end your relationship with Wells Fargo. It has been long overdue for Los Angeles to completely end their relationship. A few days ago, Los Angeles Times released an article with a heading stating former Wells Fargo workers say they targeted immigrants and Native Americans. As a diverse population and city, we cannot sit back and watch the discrimination against our city no longer. It is time that we completely end our relationship with Wells Fargo, not just divest. Thank you for your time.
So is anyone else, you have about another, hold the times. You have another about 4 minutes, so 4 more speakers before we lose quorum. Is anybody going to give up their speaking time? I just want to make sure. Hold on for just a second. What is your name?
Lance Brown Eyes. Yeah, we'll just call it next.
Okay, you're here. But I did call Denise Shumash Romero and Ernesto Burbank as well.
Ernesto's not in the...
So, you're okay not speaking?
Let's move on.
Wenizerio Sage Isaac, are you here? Wenizerio Sage Isaac, are you here? That person is not here. Ma'am, what is your name? Denise?
Sarah Lee.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, City Council, for listening today. Happy early Mother's Day. I am a mother, teacher, and resident of CD14. Divesting from Wells Fargo is a historic action I hope each of you will take to send a loud message to the people of your district, our city, state, and country that our diverse and fair city will not support one of the 6 major banks investing in Geo and Core Civic, the private prison systems poised under this administration to lock up our citizens at an alarming and profitable rate. Private prisons that donate heavily to ALEC, the enemy of the people. We will not support a corporation that has defrauded 2 million of its clients, including myself. Wells Fargo fraudulently issued me this credit card, which affected my credit score. After the LA Times broke this story, Wells Fargo turned around and fired 5,000 of their rank and employees to take the blame. Divesting from Wells Fargo and with heavy fossil fuel investments is paramount to fighting climate change. Please, please do not delay the vote and make this historic vote. Lila, say water's life. Okay, thank you.
Your name? She wants to say her name in the mic? No? Denise Shumash Romero, Ernesto Burbank, are you going to go ahead and forego your time so someone else can speak?
They're not in the chamber.
Emiliano Martinez, Brandy Maxey, Jean Hazy.
Okay, Emiliano Martinez here, if I may address the council. Thank you so much. We really should have more time. You gave 3 minutes to these other buffoons that are in here speaking earlier. So it's insulting to the native people here that we give up our time to be here. We're hurting. A lot of us, work from gig to gig. If we're not working, we're not earning money. So it gives a lot of myself to be here today. But we really press upon you guys to listen to the people here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. LA is our home, and you all are our representatives. We want you to divest from Wells Fargo, a crooked, corrupt bank who's doing shady practices. They're at the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to keep working on it. So we're not going to go anywhere. Stand in line with the people now so we don't have to, we can come together and make justice for, not just for ourselves. It's not for us. It's for the little ones. It's for the 7 generations to come. The time is now. It's up to us. Thank you.
Next speaker, Brandy Maxey, Jean Yazy, Joe Jimenez.
Hello, my name is Ernesto Burbank. On behalf of the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, we have a lot of concerns, but more importantly, we just want to pray for the people that are in charge, because I feel like they've been lost for so long, and we just need to.
Hold on for just a second. I'm going to hold your phone. Somebody seems to. There's an altercation in the back, sergeants. Can you, Sergeant? Did anybody get hurt back there? Hold on for just a second. I heard somebody, a huge bang. Mr. Hunt? I'm not wasting your time, sir. The clock is not on. Thank you for letting me know, though. I thought somebody got hurt. Go ahead.
All right, human nastan hidin na kodon islan hantlon do did na kun has tsanagi hojon hik na da nes to hojo ye gonda do na to hojo hit niketsen kesto nikelchni hik na da nes to hot I in hitchen khatsedsen diko. You guys are the leaders of this city right here, and we just want you to take responsibility that you guys have for the people, not only for the city of LA, but also for the humanity of this world. And we just want you to be conscious of the decisions you guys make. So we really want you to understand divesting in LA is important to us.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience. Brandy Maxey, Jean Yazy, Joe Jimenez. Hold on for just a second. Ms. Hailey, Patty Lopez, Mariko Munro.
Yes.
You want to come up?
I actually, we all have cards. I'm just going to have him go.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name's Aldo Seoane.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make this brief. Thank you very much for creating this opportunity. Mr. O'Farrell, thank you for putting this motion out on the floor so we can look at this. We respect the fact that we have an indigenous relative sitting here in front of us today. And because of that, we look to you beyond just your position, but as the voice of people who are having a hard time. When we look at this, we look at Wells Fargo, the other 17 other banks, but the reality is who paid the bonds for the genocide and the atrocities that happened here during the gold rush era? Wells Fargo did. Wells Fargo started the banking practices of the 1850s that led to the predatory lending that we're all seeing right now today. This is a structure that keeps perpetuating. Mr. O'Farrell, please, next time when you're addressing the press and you guys are talking about genocide, please talk about your own. You're talking about what happened to Japanese internment. You're talking about Armenian genocide and the Holocaust. But we face it every day. We have been. I come here, and the seal of the Spanish Armada is in the middle of this building when you're on Tongva land. So I urge each of you to look in your hearts and remember. Remember your oath. Remember why you're here, and thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker, I left off at Patty Lopez, Mariko Munro, Nancy, German.
They allow me to talk.
What is your name?
I'm Lance Brown Eyes from the Oglala Kota Nation, and over 80,000 barrels of oil has just spilled from the Keystone Pipeline on my people's land. My people, we do not have any more clean source of water. We're the poorest reservation on the world. We have the highest suicide rate in the world. I live in hell. My people freeze to death, and I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you to divest from this pipeline. because I'm the last of the Lakota Nation that you will ever see. You will not have a Crazy Horse. You will not have a Russell Means. You will not have Red Cloud. No more of my people be existed. I swear to God, there's only 40,000 of us left. And I'm just begging of you, divest.
Thank you so much. The next speaker, Nancy.
Sorry. You had called
German.
my name as well.
What is your name?
Brandy Maxey.
Maxey, go ahead.
Somebody had just jumped in for it. Oh, they called my name and then a few people. So my name is Brandy Maxey, and I came out from Standing Rock. We got evicted out there. My daughter also was out there. And it's very hard to explain to a 13-year-old girl that, you know, it's unsafe to come out here because the police might hurt you because they're protecting these pipelines. It's hard to explain to your child that these people who are supposed to serve and protect you are actually serving and protecting this pipeline. It's hard to take the blinders off for a lot of communities, but for us, we can't put those blinders up because Indigenous communities are deeply affected on a regular basis, so it's right in front of our face. We have to deal with it. We have to talk to our children about it. So as someone who's deeply affected by the effects of the poison water from these pipelines and whatnot, I encourage you to divest, but also think about the fact that we're having to have these conversations with our teenage daughters, that they might get hurt because they want to stand up for clean water and air and our lands and resources. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I want to do is give your group 3 more minutes because we're going to lose quorum and we're going to have to close our meeting. So are there 3 more speakers that would like to come up?
Let her speak.
Okay, so do you have your 3 speakers?
Nancy.
Okay, state your name, 3 more speakers, then I have to close public comment, okay? So who are your 3 speakers? You guys are ready to go?
And 2 more.
Come on, stand behind you're Nancy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nancy, go ahead. You have a minute. 2 more speakers, then I have to close public comment. Go ahead.
Okay. Hihaniwashte. Good morning. My name is Nancy Whitehorse. I'm a full-blood Lakota from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe located in Cherry Creek, South Dakota. I'm a current resident of Council 9, Current Prices Council. I am representative for the Los Angeles Native American Indian Commission. I'm here today as a full-blood Lakota asking you again to support Standing Rock and divesting in Wells Fargo and any ties that any other banks that you guys have that are investing in Wells Fargo. I hope you guys really consider the fact that there are only 40,000 members in their tribe. There's only 13,000 in my tribe. 3,000 are full-blood. I'm one. I'm hoping that just like you guys, all of your people are thriving, you guys allow us to thrive as well. So please divest. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 more speakers. Who's speaking next?
Hello.
What is your name?
Dennis Shumash Romero.
Thank you.
How are you? From the Shumash tribe of the Kalawashak village here in California, Santa Barbara area. I just came from Standing Rock, spent several months. I'd like to use this time to pray. Mataku Yeyo Yasen. Tunkashila, Creator, Great Spirit, we ask that you enter the minds and the hearts of these politicians here, these superiors and these council members, and we ask that you pave a path for them to complete your mission, Tunkashila, to save this planet, Tunkashila. We thank you for this time in prayer, and we thank you for this unity that you have brought us together in this time. And here above my heart, Tunkashila, I have the coals of the sacred fire. And the next time this fire is lit, Tunkashila, these council members will know that this sacred fire has been through this city hall. We thank you for this time in prayer, and we lift our spirits up to you and to continue to use us as tools and vessels to complete your mission in saving Unchimaka, our Mother Earth. Mataku Yeo Yasen, Aho.
Thank you very much. And who is your last speaker? Come on up.
Derek.
Okay. You want to pull the mic down for him, please, so that he can speak into the mic?
I'm going to speak for him. I'm his mother.
Your name?
Hope.
Okay.
And his, my son's words.
Thank
you.
you.
He was going to speak for himself, but he is intimidated by the way you've been cutting everyone off.
I'm not doing that on purpose, ma'am. These are the rules. Thank you.
He is 10. I am a child of LA. I am here today to demand the exit of projects that do harm to our Mother Earth, harm to her children and her animals, harm to her water. We live in a community that lets our abuser walk free, while my mom and I live in fear. We live in a community where it's normal to see homelessness. I was homeless. I see my mother struggle daily to provide me a better life, only to still be under the poverty line. We are LA. Wake up, help our community. Thank you.
very much. Thank you. Okay. Public comment is now closed. Thank you very much. Public comment is now closed.
Are they all right?
Madam Clerk, what's before us? We've closed public comment, ma'am. I said there was only 3 more speakers. Thank you.
Madam President, Council has motions for posting and
Posted and referred. Members, are there any announcements? Any announcement, members? Can we all please rise for adjourning motions? Any adjourning motions on my right? Mr. Hunt, I close public comment. Thank you very much, sir. I made that announcement over and over again. We're losing quorum. Thank you very much for being here. Any adjourning motions on my right? Any adjourning motions on my left? Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Blumenfield, go ahead. Can you please escort Mr. Hunt to his seat? Thank you very much. He continues to disrupt the meeting. I had made several announcements. We were losing quorum and we needed to close public comment. Sir, we satisfied the 10 minutes of general public comment. I made that announcement over and over again. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Sergeants, can you please help Mr. Hunt find his seat or escort him out of council chambers? Thank you.
Mr. Hunt is continuing to disrupt the meeting. The sergeants are asking him to leave, and he's refusing to do so. And Mr. Hunt is continuing to shout and refuses to leave.
He ain't got it. You got to acknowledge me. Thank you. Fuck him.
And now Mr. Herman is shouting as well.
Mr. City Attorney, I want to note that we do not have a quorum. We just lost our quorum.
Meeting is over.
Mr. Blumenfield, he has one adjourning motion. I'd like for Mr. Blumenfield to go ahead.
I'd like to ask us to adjourn in the memory of Teresa Lynn Martin. She was a management analyst with EWDD who worked for this great city since 2001. I can do it tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. Our members are still speaking, and you're disrupting city business.
We no longer have a quorum, so our meeting is adjourned. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Sorry, Bob.